Welcome to East Atlanta Church, where ministry is made simple by Pastor Jéan L. Ward.
Is God is saying, if you trust in me, if you literally trust in me, that means also wait on me, then you'll begin to find out what I'm doing in your life. Okay? So this morning, this week you've been dealing with me because there's a lot going on, and I've been watching people go through some things, and what I want to deal with today is when depression becomes a way of life. You know, a lot of times what happens is we get so caught up in what's going on that we believe that that's the norm for us. We'll get be so despondent that we believe that this is how life is supposed to be. You know, and when we look at the definition of depression, there's several that I want to read to you. One, it says the angular distance of a celestial object below the horizon. Now, in other words, that means a hole, or as we call a rut. But in a spiritual context, I would like you to look at it as the increasing distance it is from God. Because what it actually is, it is a distance that is placing you further from God, from where He wants you to feel His love and be captivated by His Spirit. But we're allowing the pressures of life, we're allowing those things, those outside forces, to place us deeper into a hole which separates us from the canopy of heaven that God has provided for us. It also says an act of depressing or state of being depressed, a state of feeling sad, lowering, dejection, a psychoneurotic or psychotic disorder marked by especially by sadness, inactivity, difficulty in thinking and concentrating, a significant increase or decrease in appetite, and a time spent sleeping, feeling of dejection and hopelessness, and sometimes suicidal tendencies. It goes on, a reduction in activity, amount, quality, or force, a lowering of vitality or functional activity. It also says a period of low general economic activity marked especially by the rising levels of unemployment. So what we see here is that depression is that thing that can change or alter our way of life. You know, I was reading more, and I looked what the Mayo Clinic says. Depression is a mood disorder that causes a persistent feeling of sadness and loss of interest, also called major depressive disorder or clinical depression. It affects how you feel. It affects how you think and behave, and could lead to a variety of emotional and physical problems. You may have trouble doing normal day-to-day activities, and sometimes you may feel as if life isn't worth living. And I know you may say, well, Pastor, what does that have to do with God? Because I want you to go with me to a story in the Gospel of John, chapter 5, starting with verse 1. That's the Gospel of John, the New Testament, chapter 5, starting with verse 1, and we'll read through verse 9. I'll give you time to turn there. Now it says, after this, a Jewish festival took place, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem. By the sheep gate in Jerusalem, there is a pool called Bethesda. Now, it means Bethesda is also known as the mercy pond, the mercy place. Okay, and Bethesda, Hebrew, which had 5 colonnades, which are columns, and not just columns, but columns that are covered. And it was there at this pool. And it says, within these lay a large number of sick, blind, lame, and paralyzed, waiting for the moving of the water, because an angel would go down into the pool from time to time and stir up the water. Then the first one who got in after the water was stirred up recovered from whatever ailment he had. One man was there who had been sick for 38 years. When Jesus saw him lying there, he knew he had already been there a long time. He said to him, "Do you want to get well?" The man answered, "Sir, I don't have a man to put me in the pool when the water is stirred up." But while I'm coming, someone goes down ahead of me. Now, when we stop to look at this situation, we realize that there's this man who has been confounded by his situation. He's allowed circumstances to dictate his situation, which has confounded him to be in the same place for 38 years. Many of us have been in the same place for 38 years, for 40 years, for 50 years, for 20 years. And we are doing what this man has said, and that is we are looking at everything else around us instead of looking at it head on. You know, this man, he began to look at everybody else as a fault of his situation. At one point, I wonder, does he even know what his true ailment is? Can you imagine? Think about this for one moment. How many times have you seen individuals that complain about not having enough to pay some bills? They don't have enough money. They don't have, but then they look at it, it's the thing of, well, what's the problem? The problem is you're unemployed. Well, why are you? Well, okay, so you need finances to survive, amen? But they miss it so much because they get caught up in what? They're caught up in the aspects of them not having money. So when they get a job, they still are looking at what they don't have, because as they sat there looking at a job, they were thinking about the things they were missing. If I had a job, I could do this. If I had a job, I could buy a car. If I had a job, I could go to eat. If I had a job, I could go out. If I had a job, if I had a job. Well, what happens is God blesses them with the job, but they miss it because they're so busy talking about, well, if I had more money, if I had this, if I had that. And they stayed at that pool still feeling woe as me. We do it in relationships. If I had this, I see so many people saying, if I had someone to love me, if I was married, it wouldn't be so much of a problem. I laugh at the single people that say, if I was married, or they look at married couples and they say, well, it's two of you, so you don't have the same problem that I have. And then there's other people in the marriage side, it's just you. At least when it's only you, you don't have to worry about one person. Well, on the other end, they begin to debate and argue over not who has it better, but who has it worse. Have you seen this? And we find ourselves in this situation debating on whose situation is worse. But then we try to hide it. You know, we go in and we try to get mad about it. We try to, when someone comes and helps us and they say, listen, I need you to have confidence in yourself. And we say, I got confidence. But what you don't understand is it's not confidence that you have, it's arrogance that you have that is superseding and covering up your insecurity. Because you don't want to admit to yourself that you doubt who you are and the power that God has given you. You question the ability that God has laid before you, but yet you mask it in arrogance so that no one can attack you. I know I can get an amen on that one. Yes, I know you don't want to look at yourself as arrogant. And I know you want to feel like you got everything handled. But I'm pretty sure the man at the pool kind of felt the same way, because many of us are arrogant because of the fact that we don't want to what? Feel hurt. No one wants to feel dejected, do we? The bottom line is no one really likes to be told no. Am I right? You won't go ask for a raise because you're afraid they're going to say what? No. You won't ask for a promotion because you're afraid they're going to say what? No. You want to apply for a house because you're afraid they're going to say what? No. So there's so much you won't do because you're afraid they're going to say what? No. Because you're afraid of rejection. You're afraid of denial. But the bottom line is it doesn't matter what man says. They can tell you no over and over and over again. Because I do remember there was a man by the name of Moses, and Pharaoh told him no and no and no and no and no. Until God said it's time for him to say yes. But you're so worried about someone telling you no when they don't have the power of your destiny at hand. So we stay away from a yes in fear of a no. And then we begin to live in the no. We begin to make the no the common. We begin to make the no the norm. But we don't begin to take power away from the no. I'm sure this man was there and he probably asked somebody at one point and someone said no. And then I believe he stopped. He just sat there waiting for, waiting, no one will come and put me in. He never said, I keep asking people and they said no. He never said, I got close up to, if you really want something, you know, I know my mom gets on me about my driving because I'm an aggressive driver. You know, I'm that person that I won't wait in a long line of cars to get onto an exit. Why? Because I have some place to be. And what if somebody will let you in, won't let you in? Somebody will always let me in because God has told me how to make a way out of no way. At no point, someone said one time, well, you'll just hold up a whole lane. I will get in where I need to be, but I will not allow someone else to control my destiny. I refuse. Can you imagine what if he had got close enough to the edge of the pool that the moment the angel stirred the water, what if he had been so close, only thing he had to do was just roll over? But he never did that, did he? Because his ailment wasn't his problem. His depression became his problem. It became his way of life. Well, Pastor, I don't have that problem. Understand, let me help you understand something. You have to look. You look at what you feel distant from. What do you feel distant from? What is it that's making you feel despondent and dejected? Was it the man? If you think about it, his problem when he told Jesus, and I want you to see this, he said, waiting for the moving of the water because an angel would go down and trouble the pool. The first one who got in the water be stood up and recover from whatever happened. One member who had been laid for 30 years, when Jesus saw him lying there, he knew had already been there. And when Jesus asked him a question, do you want to get well? The first thing that man said was, I don't have a man to put me in the pool. His problem was no longer that he was lame, was it? His problem was what? He didn't have nobody to put him in the pool. But was that his real problem? So what if he got put in the pool and then didn't get healed? Then what? Because see, he began to put power in who? Man. And not the healer, didn't he? He put power. See, that's the problem. We put power in other people and not power in God. They won't do this. They won't do that. They won't allow me. I don't care what they can't. They don't have a heaven or hell to put you in. So why are you waiting on man to do something that God has promised you? And we lose focus on what we should be doing. But then when we begin to lose focus, we realize we're distancing ourselves, which is the depression, from the horizontal. Okay? We're distancing ourselves from that where we really need to be. But what do we do when we distance ourselves? We begin to do what is called self-medicate. Because no one likes to be depressed, do they? Anybody like being depressed? So what do? We cover ourselves. How do we do that? We do it we self-medicate by drugs, alcohol, sex, eating, shopping, blaming others, hating on others. And the number one thing we do is about what? Blaming God. We never want to face it. Yes, we're in a time, we're approaching the Christmas season, or we're in it now, and people are shopping and feeling good because they want to spend some money, and it makes them feel good to spend, and makes them feel good to look like other people, and makes them feel good to look like they're faring very well, but they're doing that to overcompensate for what they're lacking. Think about it. I asked my daughter, I said, do you buy something because you like it, or do you buy something because of the name? If you have to buy something because of the name of something, that means that you're putting power in the name, and that name defines you. But if you buy something because you like it, then it doesn't matter about the name, because I'm pretty sure that for everything that a name brand label has, there's something that is not much of a name brand that has something of equal or even better quality. Amen. Did you know that? I'm being honest with you. I remember there are some Rolexes, and I'm using this example that you can take some that are not real Rolexes and take them to a jeweler, and the jeweler could not even tell the difference. Why? Because sometimes things are just the same, but different. But we put power in that what we want to put power in, and God is saying none of those have power at all. But I do. But where's your confidence in yourself? Are you going to continue masking and covering up and trying to overshadow the problem that you have, or are you going to be made whole again? Understand something. Depression is an illness, and it involves the body, the mood, and thoughts, and that affects the way a person eats, sleeps, feels about him or herself, and thinks about things. Depression is not the same as a passing blue mood. It is not a sign of personal weakness or a condition that may be wished away. People with depression cannot merely pull themselves together and get better. Without treatment, symptoms can last for weeks, months, and years. Without treatment. But the only true treatment that this man had, he didn't realize it was in front of him. It says appropriate treatment, however, can help most people with depression. The signs and symptoms of depression include, watch this, here's the funny thing about how depression works in your life. And I'm not trying to diagnose someone, but I want you to look inside yourself to realize how much you need Christ. It says the signs and symptoms of depression include loss of interest in activities that were once interesting and enjoyable, including sex, loss of appetite, or weight loss, or overeating, with weight gain, loss of emotion, expression, a persistently sad, anxious, or empty mood, feeling of hopelessness, pessimism, guilt, worthlessness, helplessness, social withdrawal. That's what this man was doing. Unusual fatigue or low energy, a level of the feeling of being slowed down, sleep disturbance, insomnia, early morning awakening and oversleeping, overly sex drive. Once again, you got one on one hand, one on the other hand. Trouble concentrating, remembering, or making decisions. That's why some of you have a hard enough time trying to figure out what you want to do. It's unusual restlessness, and I love this one. Irritability. Irritability. You want to know why you have such a bad attitude. Because you have not pulled yourself out of that rut. You haven't allowed God to come into your life. You still want to stay at that pool, waiting for someone else to do something else to change your situation. Hear what I just said. You want to stay at the pool, at the side, waiting for someone else to do something else to change your situation. And it is not up to someone else to do something else to change your situation. It's up to you to do something else to allow Christ to change your situation. Stop looking at other people to do what God said he can do. Stop blaming other people. You put yourself by the pool. You chose to wait there. You chose not to look at a man and stop looking at the healer, at the man. So stop getting mad at everybody else because of where you are. Persistent physical problems such as headaches, digestive disorders, or chronic pain that do not respond to treatment and thoughts of death or suicide attempts. Wow, it says the principal types of depressions are called major depression, dystonia, bipolar disease, manic depressive disease. That's why you go from one end to the other. And you're looking at everybody else. Because we all suffer at some point in time in our life of waiting on something else outside of Christ to heal us. And we blame everybody else. Well, Pastor, I know you said all this, but then what? So after we looked at the situation from this, after we realized that we've been self-medicating, we got to stop looking at the problem and look towards the solution, which is Christ, and deal with the question at hand. And that is, do you want to get whole? Do you want to get well? And he says, I don't have a man to put me in the pool when it's coming down. And then Jesus looked at him and he says, listen, get up. Get up. Pick up your mat and walk. And I love this. What Christ says is, if you take hold of your situation, you take ownership of what's going on, and you stop letting it confine you and control you and make a comfortable pad of your mess. If you take it up, scoop it up, get up and walk, you will find out that you have authority over all that's been confining you, and you can tell it where to go. Remember, there was a young lad that was being held captive by these demons called Legion, and he had a bipolar disorder. But the moment they fled, the man had his senses again. But Christ knew one thing. He knew how to cast them out and then tell them where to go. You need to learn how to realize what's going on, take control of it, and tell them problems where to go. Because they have no dominion or power in your life except that which you have given it. Death could not hold Christ. So why do you think depression can contain you? Only because you allow yourself to wrap yourself inside of that bed called depression. And you make it comfortable with the things of self-medicating. And while you do that, you blame everybody else for it. Instead of realizing that the only thing I gotta do is get up from this situation, realize what Christ wants for me, and move on and stop living in arrogance. But that means you gotta humble yourself and realize it's not anyone else but you. And then Christ can heal you. And it goes on to say, instantly the man got well. Instantly the man got well. Picked up his mat and started to walk. Now that day was the Sabbath. The importance of saying it was the Sabbath was because, remember, no work should be done on the Sabbath day. And it became a great big issue. But what you're looking at, many of you have done this. Well, God can't do it because of this. This can't happen because of this. The law says this. God is saying it doesn't matter what time, what day, or what the situation is. I can do it. I can fix it regardless to what man says if you just trust me. So I ask you, let God have his way in your life today. Stop blaming the situation, the circumstances, the people. Take ownership. Take up your bed and walk if you choose to be made whole. Amen.